I'd like to welcome everybody to this meeting of the Sustainability Advisory Board on Monday, March 7th. I see we have no public comment this evening, although I'm delighted to say we have full quorum, so that's cool. The first order of business is approval of minutes from February 1st. I would entertain a motion to accept those minutes.
Would move for approval.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And I'm delighted to say we get to introduce two new board members tonight. We have Lurton Blassengame and we have Robert Turner, who have both joined our board in the last month. And I'm going to ask them each to give us about a 1-minute spiel on their background and why they love being on this board. Lurton, would you like to go first? We'll go alphabetically here.
Okay, I was asked, why do I want to be on the board and what could I possibly contribute? And I want to be on the board because I've always been interested in sustainability. My wife Carolyn and I arrived in the fall of '67. In '68 I was on the Fox River, the beautification committee that then was the Fox River Development, and our long-range goal was a river walk, which was very nice. And that was some 44 years ago. About 25 years ago, I wrote a paper on sustainable cities, oxymoron, utopia, or inevitability. The last 15 years at the university, I ran the urban studies program, and one part of that was land use, and in which sustainability was one among competing virtues. And then about a decade ago, Jan and I worked on a League of Women Voters project, the 7 Natural Steps, which is sort of a forerunner, of this. And as a little side note, when I was teaching at the university, Darren was one of my students. And when Darren was teaching at the university, Liz was one of his students. So I feel she's kind of an academic granddaughter.
Well, welcome, Lurton. We're very glad you're here.
What I can contribute is, as a newbie on the board, I will attend meetings and do as I'm told.
Thank you. Robert, could you give us a little overview?
Well, I was born and raised in Oshkosh, and I've been a passionate bicycle rider all my life, designed and built recumbent bicycles and tricycles. I was deeply involved with International Human-Powered Vehicle Association Land Speed Record Racing. Attended the Energy Fair up at Custer from the second one through up until I think about 2 years ago. I exhibited up there and represented the IHPVA for many years, and then I was showing my own vehicles. I've had a couple solar systems, one in the house in the country, and now I have one in Oshkosh here. Sort of a lifelong backpacker and photographer, mostly outdoor pictures. So nature is something I've spent a lot of time in and admiring, and I wish we could keep more of it. And I'm not going to do as I'm told so much as try to do what's right.
We appreciate that too. Well, welcome to both of you, and I think you'll both bring different aspects to the board that we were needing, so I'm glad you're here. At this point, I'd like to ask someone to make a motion to move the approval of the ICLEI Milestone 2 report up to next on the agenda so that Kathy doesn't have to stay for our entire meeting, as fascinating as we are.
So moved. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Let's go to the approval of the ICLEI Milestone 2 report, reduction target setting. And Kathy, take it away.
Okay, you all should have received a copy of the draft report. It should have been mailed to you, I believe, or emailed. A little background for our newer members that are on the Sustainability Board. Back in September 2007, the city signed on to the U.S. Mayor's Climate Protection Agreement. And basically that was permitting them to meet or surpass the Kyoto Protocol target, which was a 7% reduction of 1999 levels by 2012. Shortly after that, the city adopted the International Council for Local Environmental Initiatives. I have to read that because I always think of it as ICLEI. And that was, they committed to adopting 5 milestone reports at that time. The first report, which was milestone 1, which was to conduct a greenhouse gas emissions report, that was completed on May 6, 2013. And this is the second of the 5 series of the milestone reports. The purpose of this report is to set a reduction target for greenhouse gas emissions from the 2007 base year. So that's why we're here. And I want to thank the Sustainability Board for their input and help on this project. Without your input, we could not have completed this, so thank you. Today I'm going to give you a quick overview of the process that we took to develop this report, the summary of the baseline summary, because I think, for milestone 1, because I think that'll provide target areas for where you might want to focus your efforts when you develop strategies to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. The short, long, and mid-term reduction targets that were set are selected by the committee. Some potential strategies where to look for those to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and then the next steps. This report is actually done under East Central's Technical Assistance Program. Every fall we solicit projects from our member communities and counties, and they're usually short-term projects that take less than a week to complete, and that's what this was done under. We kicked off the effort in July of 2015, and that first meeting we basically looked at the milestone 1 report, and we provided a timeline of what how we were going to get this project completed. Then in August, we discussed we researched some of the targets, reduction targets that have been set internationally, nationally, ICLEI communities, and locally around here. And that's what we did in August. And then September, we actually got down to discussing them in more detail and then selecting a target. And then we didn't come back for a while after that. Basically, we talked, actually in September too, we talked about how would we implement this plan, how would we identify the strategies. And so we actually looked at the city's strategic plan, 2015-16 strategic plan, and the committee identified recommendations that were actually in that plan. And then we also looked, last month we talked about actually including in the plan too some of the major accomplishments that have been completed in the city and also in the community. So back to milestone number 1 then, like I mentioned, you want to look at this more, well, this is our baseline. It was a 2007 baseline that was done, but you also want to look at where to focus the efforts. So when you look at the city as a whole, municipal operations, you can see that the majority of the efforts are actually under wastewater, and then buildings and facilities. So those are probably more than 50, most of them are right in those areas. Over 50% of the municipal operations are in one of those 2 areas. When you look at what kind of, where the greenhouse gas emissions coming from, about 75% were coming from electricity usage. That kind of tells you a little bit how to focus it. We also looked at the community-wide. Most of the emissions are coming from, or greenhouse gas emissions are coming from the community-wide. And when you look at that too, you can kind of see it's more split. But if you look at maybe commercial and industrial together, that is over 50% of the emissions. So those might be areas that you want to focus. Again, the majority, over 58%, were in electricity caused by that. Natural gas was 18%, and transportation was the gasoline component of the 22.4%. Okay. The next thing we did is I mentioned we looked at what other communities and other targets had been set at to set the reduction targets. And basically, reduction targets are a focal point for local action and change, and it's an objective to strive for. So we looked at the different objectives, or different, researched different targets that are out there. We looked at, for example, the Kyoto Protocol, which was done in '97, and then the City of Appleton, but there were a number of other ones we also looked at. So the first thing we looked at was long-term targets. We kind of set to the end, and then we wanted to come back, because if you don't set short and mid-term targets, you don't know how you're advancing towards your end. So we looked at a long-term target, and we set it 80% below the 2007 baseline by 2050. And that's right along with a lot of the other targets that are out there. And it actually was reaffirmed in the Paris climate talks that were just this December. That's what the United States has set at 80% below the 2005 baseline by 2050. So it's really right in line with that. And then we looked at short-term, and the basis for the short-term targets was we wanted to allow a time period enough that the city would have time to adopt the other milestones that were in the series. And then the midterm, we set it in the middle. So that's kind of how we went about setting those, the committee did. And then we looked at the city's strategic plan that's been adopted by the council. And the committee identified 12 initiatives that were already in progress. And of the 12 that were identified, most of them targeted the community-wide area reductions. So there were 2 in the commercial, industrial, electric, natural gas usage area, 4 that were actually residential, electric, natural gas, 3 in transportation for reducing gasoline usage. And then there was 1 that was more the potential to impact all areas because it was an educational effort. With the municipal operations, there was 1 identified to address gasoline usage and 1 for diesel usage. So that's kind of where those were. There were also 15 strategies that the city's not currently working on, though some may have been discussed already and have been discussed already. And these, again, targeted the community-wide. We had 3 in the commercial, industrial, electric, natural gas usage area, 1 in residential, electric, natural gas, 3 in transportation, gasoline usage, and 2 that had a potential to impact all areas because it was more educational focused or awareness focused. In the municipal operations, there were 2 that were identified to reduce electric usage in buildings, 2 for natural gas usage within buildings and facilities, 2 for gasoline usage, and 3 for vehicle diesel fleet usage. And again, there was a potential because of educational efforts to address all the different areas. So that's kind of what the community we had been looking at. And then the next step in this milestone 2 would actually be for the SAB to recommend that it go to the city manager, to Mark Roloff, and then from there to work on completing the next milestone report, which would be to develop a climate action plan. So are there any questions?
Now, the targets that we're setting, are these city, when I say city, I mean city of Oshkosh, governmental, or is this city of Oshkosh holistic?
They're both. They would be addressing the city of Oshkosh municipal operations as well as community-wide.
How we can control what the city does, how do we affect and impact what the community does as a whole?
When we looked at the strategic plan, and if you look in the report, because I don't have it open in front of me, you can see plainly that there are policies that if the city set those policies and they're working on them, that would definitely impact the community as a whole, not just municipal operations.
Thank you.
I just have one question. When reading the draft milestone 2, on page 8.
What? 8, thank you.
Yep. There's a little box on, a little informational box about the Kyoto Protocol.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if we could cite a better source. So underneath it says Wikipedia,
Yeah.
and that's usually
I can do that.
a red flag for anyone that's looking at it, you know.
Sure, I'll cite a different source. There's a lot of them out there.
That's what I figured. I mean, maybe even if there's, I don't know if there's just a site for Kyoto Protocol in general.
Okay,
That's all I have.
I can easily change that. That's an easy one.
Any other questions? While we have Kathy here? Okay, well, I would just like to thank her very much for this absolutely
Thank you.
awesome and complete report. We're very appreciative. And I would like to ask everyone for, or anyone, I guess, for a motion to approve this to send on to the city manager from our board. We need to approve it so that we can send it to Mark.
So move.
With that edit, yes, with the Wikipedia edit. As edited, thank you.
I would second. You're welcome.
Is there any discussion on this? Okay, then, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Excellent. Whoa,
I
thanks, Kathy.
I see a lot of paper on this table.
Sometimes it's easier to think these things through for some of us when we have them hard copies, Tom. Did you not receive a hard copy on it?
Oh, yeah, but
I
I'm
know
just...
you're using that, which is awesome. Thank you. Oh,
I would be
okay.
happy to switch packets to digital if that is the consensus of the group. But
If that can be done, I mean, council has found that very, very beneficial. And the savings that we found with council was significant.
maybe we can put that on a future agenda to discuss.
It's been raised many times in the past, and discuss whether we would get everything just digitally, or if we'd continue to receive packets. And it doesn't have to be, I mean, we can generate packets just for those who,
True, yeah.
not everybody has an iPad, Tom, for one thing.
No,
I know, I'm just saying.
I'm just saying is that
It's
we're getting more
nice
and
when
more
it's,
towards that.
right, and it's a very sustainable thing to do, and we like that. Okay, well, that took care of number 7. Thank you. Let's go back to number,
Could I just make a suggestion?
yes.
I don't know what, I meant to bring that up when Kathy was here. Is this 2025, did you read that about that? Communities have adopted that, having 25% of their energy from renewable sources by 2025, and that many communities in the state have adopted it, and we have not. I wonder if our committee could look into doing that.
That's an excellent idea. I think there was something that came out just today that talked about how alternative energy sources are now cost compatible with coal. So, yes, we definitely need to be looking at that.
That would make sense, too, because our short-term target is 25% below 2007 baseline by 2025, so that's
Right.
right there.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
We came up with all this before it's been out there. We're good. Okay, anything else on the milestone report? Everybody excited about moving on to number 3 with it? As in milestone 3? Say yes. Good job. Okay, number 5, approval of the 2015 Sustainability Advisory Board Annual Report, which is this awesome piece that we have. And is this what we'll be distributing at the State of the City?
Yep, these will be included at State of the City and then in future promotional events that we do.
Excellent. I have to say, this is very nice. I like the way that you've done this year, and like a little newsletter all about us.
Very visually appealing.
I tried my hardest not to make it look like a Word document.
That's great.
And
A
the
lot of good open source platforms out there.
well, the information in here was excellent, too. It's nice to see that we've accomplished as much as we have.
Oh, it's very impressive.
Thank you. It'll be even better the next year. And the summary of activities was nice and long, which was very nice. So I'm anxious to share this with...
The only one I'd look at is that I'm looking at under the ICLEI milestones, that section, it says late in 2015, SAB agreed upon proposed reduction targets, which will be presented. That late in 2016, we might want to put early in 2016, because we...
Well, we actually had done that in November.
All right,
It
well,
was, so...
The formal adoption was, it could be a semantic
Sure.
thing, but just
We can just take the late in 2015.
however we want to do it, but it's,
Presented this year, we hope. Was there anything else on here that anybody noticed that we should change, correct, add to, delete, or otherwise modify? All right, well then I would ask for a motion to approve this as is, with that one change that Tom made.
I would so move.
Second.
Thank you, thank you. All in favor, say aye. Great. The next thing is the approval of the 2016 Sustainability Advisory Board Work Plan and our plan implementation schedule. That would be this one and this one. And we all had these, I think, in plenty of time to go over them, find all the places where our names are and everything like that. Did anybody see anything on here that they wish to bring to our attention, have questions about, anything that we missed? Michelle?
I have questions on a couple. Under the environmental conservation action items on page 3, in number 3, aggressively track progress of terrace tree ordinance, there was a little blurb in there, forestry manager working on code update in 2015.
Too many things.
And I was just wondering if, we want to put any update past that, since it's just, in 2015, is there anything for 2016 that we
Thank you.
wanted to throw on there?
Have we checked with him to see if there's still in the process of update, or
Yeah.
really no?
Since he was looking on the code update last year, yeah, if there's anything that happened with that.
Not to my knowledge, there hasn't been any additional progress.
Okay.
because there's nothing been coming to council.
Okay. And there's a similar question in transportation activities, page 5, number 2, amend city code to require minimum bike rack space. Had zoning ordinances being updated in 2015 to require bike parking infrastructure at all new development sites.
That is part of the zoning ordinance that has been in the works since 2015, so
Okay,
that's...
so it's still in the
accurate.
works, it's not? Okay.
Right, it hasn't
It is
been
in the
approved
draft.
A
yet.
little
Continually.
longer than we had
Okay.
originally thought.
Okay,
But it's a very complete zoning ordinance, so that's the good news.
okay.
That one's good.
All right, those are my questions. Thank you.
Anybody else see anything that they wanted to check on? What about the work plan? Did anybody have any questions on this? Did y'all read your names on there and see where you were and went, wow, I can't wait to do that? Okay, well, that was easy. Could we have a motion to approve these two items?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Righty. And now, our fun news for the evening is going to be the status of the UWO Environmental Studies projects, which we have met with Professor Feldman, and Lizzie's going to give us an update on, right?
Sure. All right, so Jim Feldman's professor at UW Oshkosh in environmental studies. He's got a group of eager seniors that are working on their capstone seminar projects for graduation. So there's 5 groups that have been established that are working on 5 different focus areas. So I'm just going to review quick what those 5 areas are. And they're all luckily included on our action plan, so that's exciting that there's going to be some progress made towards these items. The first is to research and develop an ordinance for detention basins requiring some type of native or plantings at those sites moving forward. As a reminder, right now, if there's a planned development, we typically require that the developer puts in native landscaping, but we're hoping to transition that to all development, regardless of whether or not it's in a planned development area moving forward. We also there's a group working on researching different urban agricultural uses, so like the urban beekeeping ordinance. That group is going to be focusing on that, doing some stakeholder interviews, finding out if there's more community support surrounding that. I know that was a topic we talked about quite a bit here at this table. Let's see, they will also be working on strategies to address energy conservation within rental properties. A lot of the students have a vested interest in this focus area because they are student renters. So that was something that they actually came up with and wanted to work on as a group. Another one is looking at strategies to address plastic bag or plastic wrap recycling. And I know there's some recent state legislation that's been routed around to make that a little more difficult for municipalities to regulate. So they're going to be focusing a lot on promoting the benefits of becoming a recycling center. A lot of businesses have actually opened them because they get an economic return to actually collect and then recycle those bags. So students will be working to develop literature and then go out and speak to a lot of businesses in the community and then spread awareness of where those recycling centers currently are. And then the last one is strategies for use of vacant lots for community gardens or urban orchards, so that they're not just sitting idly vacant, awaiting development. They can be brought into productive use in the interim. So they'll be researching the caveats of that, some of the pros and cons of that approach, and how other communities have addressed that. The hope is that this becomes an annual class project, so the students are going to lay the foundation this year for future classes to pick up where they've left off and continue on along the path. And these 5 focus areas are then additional other focus areas as they come about, but also keeping in mind the sustainability plan and where we're focusing our efforts as a board and as a city. So sounds like it's going to be a pretty great collaboration. I know the students will be doing presentations of their findings at the end of the semester, so you'll be getting an invitation to that event, and hopefully we can get them in front of the council too to provide some of that information that they have put together, or at least invite them so that they're aware. So that's all I have on that. If you have any questions, let me know. If you're interested in participating with the groups, they're always looking for key interviewees from your perspective, so don't be surprised if you get a random email or phone call from some UWO students doing some research. So,
I take it
they've been asking around for some people, so you might actually have already heard from some of them.
they've been provided with our contact information, I assume?
They have, and it's on the website, and yeah, they're very, very eager, excited students, and their enthusiasm around the topics is very refreshing, so it's been good.
Excellent. Okay, well, does anybody have any agenda items for future meetings? I thought I had heard 2 mentioned tonight. I know that we had a couple of others.
I've got the 2025 initiative and then digital copies on my list so far.
Okay. I believe next month we're also talking about, the local, Shop Local initiative that we've kind of been working on for a couple of years, 3 years, a while, I don't know. So I think we're going to have a report on that. I also wanted to give you just a brief update on Bird Fest, which is fast approaching, it feels like, if you're on the committee and you're finding all these awesome things we're doing. We have added several additional things this year, a lot more kid stuff, programs for kids, crafts for them to make, that sort of thing. And we have also, as Oshkosh Bird Fest, we've partnered with Benvenuto's Italian Grill, and if you eat there on Tuesday, April 5th, between 11 a.m. and 10 p.m., so this could hit lunch, dinner, drinks after work, whatever, 20% of all the sales will go to the Bird Fest, which is a very good thing because we do have expenses and we have no funding. And I do just happen to have a few of these, so I'll pass these around. If you'd like to have one as a reminder for your refrigerator, please feel free to put it up. Again, for those watching at home, that is April 5th at Benvenuto's Italian Grill to promote Bird Fest. Okay, is there anything else anyone would like to add tonight? All right, with that, I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
All in favor, I assume?
Standing vote?
No, we just say aye. Great, thank you. Our next meeting will be on Monday, April 4th, and we are adjourned.
You are my God.